Thank you. I'm happy to join this meeting, Zoom meeting, and discuss with the brothers and sisters of Pacific Islands. I am an indigenous Ryukyuan, Hoshin Nakamura. I'm one of the rare survivors of the bloody Battle of Okinawa in 1945. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to report on the U.S. military human rights violations in the Pacific today from Okinawan point of view. This is the geographical location of the Ryukyu Islands that consists of about 215, including uninhabited islands. Ryukyu Islands are located between southern Japan, Kyushu, and Taiwan. So this chain of islands consists of the Ryukyus. The main islands are Amami, Okinawa, Miyako, and Aoyama group. As you notice, this in parentheses it says Japan, Ryukyu Islands, Japan, which means used to be independent nation. Japan took over the islands and colonized. No other prefectures has this kind of sign. So today, the Okinawa Prefecture under Japanese control after 1879 consists of Okinawa Island Group, Miyako Island Group, and Aoyama Island Group. That is altogether 160 islands, including uninhabited islands. Brief background of the Ryukyu Islands. The people of Ryukyu Kingdom maintained a very peaceful and friendly relationship with the neighboring nations from prehistoric age to the early 17th century. They confidently used the power to self-determination to operate independent kingdom where they had enjoyed prosperity, peace, and longevity until the early 1600s. However, the Ryukyu Kingdom encountered a series of disasters brought by the outside invaders in 1609, 1879, and 1945, respectively. This is a map and route or timeline that shows Satsuma invasion. This southern tip of Japan is called Satsuma. They sent 4,000 invaders, 1609. This is very illegal. No independent nation should be attacked by other independent nations. Ryukyu Kingdom had no intention to fight against Japan. The kingdom always maintained peaceful, harmonious, friendly relationship with all the neighboring nations. The 4 centuries of foreign control occurred because of after Satsuma invasion. Over 410 years, the indigenous Ryukyuans had suffered from autocratic and inhumane control of the outside powers. The power to self-determination and human rights have been taken away from the indigenous people. In 1879, Japan hijacked Ryukyu Kingdom and kidnapped King Shotai and his family, his government officials, who had been illegally abducted to Japan in spite of their strong opposition and resistance. This picture shows a Shuri Castle with King Shotai in it, pictured by French photographer in 1877. This is a ship called Tokai Maru that kidnapped King Shotai in 1879. Immediately after Kingdom was destroyed by Japan, the Japanese government built Okinawa Prefecture government for political control from 1879 until 1945. This building was destroyed in the Battle of Okinawa. After Japan's takeover, Okinawa prison were made throughout Okinawa Islands, Ryukyu Islands. Hundreds of Ryukyuans were hunted, imprisoned, tortured and killed herein by Japanese after 1879. Whoever opposed against Japanese, whoever claimed the independence of the Ryukyu, they were hunted and imprisoned, tortured, and killed. Okay, after that, Japan's assimilation policy took place. Japanese used all means to Japanize the indigenous Ryukyuans by destroying our languages, history, culture, religion, identity, and the like. Divine Emperor of Japan replaced the king. People were taught to worship and die for the emperor in Japan. The native Ryukyuans were brainwashed, mind-controlled, and hypnotized as Japanese citizens by means of Japanese assimilation program at all situations. Number 4, suppression and violation of human rights. After the total defeat of Japan in 1945, the U.S. military forces should have allowed the Ryukyuan people to become independent, just like the neighboring nations restored their independence. Instead, the U.S. forces stayed and confiscated large areas of islands and constructed huge military bases. As a result, the Ryukyuan people have been suffering from poverty and human rights violations under the U.S. military control to date. This is a photo which shows American poisonous water, toxic water called containing PFOS and P4, which is polluting Okinawan soils, rivers, and seas. Okinawan citizens' blood contained high level of PF hexes and PFOS. PF hexes 53 times higher than Japan's average. PFOS 4 times higher than Japan's average. And Nanjo City, that is where the southern tip of Okinawa, contains 12.5 times higher than Japan's average in PF hexes. This proves the Okinawan people have been drinking poisonous water for many years without being informed. The Okinawa Times newspaper issued September 9 this month, page 2 says, Okinawa City Assembly unanimously agreed to protest against the U.S. military disposal of toxic PFOS and P4 and PFOS solutions into the ditch without the permission of the local citizens. All the peoples of the Ryukyus are very angry at the irresponsible behavior of the U.S. military forces in the Ryukyus. This picture also in the newspaper. Over 130 Okinawans protested against the U.S. that had dumped 64,000 liters of perfluorinated chemical compounds into the ditch that had contained toxic PFOS and P4 at Camp Zukeran, Kitanakagusu's central part of Okinawa. 5. Remilitarization of the Ryukyu Islands still going on now by both Japanese and American, Japanese defense forces and American military bases under construction in Henoko, from southern, northern islands to southern tip of the end of the island called Yonaguni Island. So all entire islands are being militarized heavily. And in Henoko, this is the coral reefs. Despite the Ryukyu's strong protest, the Japanese government has removed and transplanted the massive coral reefs of Henoko Sea to construct a new U.S. military base. Japanese and the U.S. government have been destroying the Ryukyuan coral reefs and construct a new military base in Henoko, northeast of Okinawa. the ancient Ryukyuan people believed there had been a Ryugu, or the dragon palace, under the colorful coral sea. 6. The noise. Now, next is noise damage. The Ryukyuan people have also been suffering from the noise damage caused by the roaring sounds of the U.S. military planes flying over the houses, schools, and hospitals very early in the morning and late at night. All these are not allowed in the USA, but both the US and Japan have been ignoring our protest. Former Governor Ota Masahide said both Japan and America are double standard and they are NIMBY. NIMBY means anything bad should not be not in my backyard. That is, he said, NIMBY. The regulation standards for noise and specific factories and specific operations based on Japanese noise regulation laws and ordinances states that time zone is specified from 6 in the morning and 10 at night. The noise is limited from 40 decibel to 70 decibel. Between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Is the time zone for the most people to take a rest from the day's work. However, the U.S. military planes are freely flying over the residential areas early in the morning and late at night in the Ryukyu, disregarding the Ryukyuan people, Japanese law in many years. Okinawans are suffering from noise damage because of that. Local government inspection team recorded that there were 60 U.S. military plane flights from Kadena Air Base between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. in one day, making a loud noise at 123.9 decibels. That was 177% noisier than Japan's noise regulation. At least 10 Okinawans living around the Kadena Air Base alone are reported to have been dying from the noise damage every year, while many others are suffering from it. No more human rights violations anywhere in the Pacific. The Ryukyuan people have suffered too much and too long under the foreign control. The human rights of the indigenous Ryukyuans have been violated and ignored for more than 410 years now. Now is the time for the oppressed Ryukyuans, the native Hawaiians, and the peoples of the Marianas and Guam to become independent and free from the outside control. Conclusion. The U.S. military occupation in the Ryukyu Islands has brought about the following side effects. Number one, unending rapes of the local women since 1945. At least 6,000 rapes, many murders occurred. Number two, the murder of the local people by the U.S. soldiers took place or may happen again in the future. Three, chronic economic poverty of the islanders. Out of 47 prefectures of Japan, Okinawa is always the poorest state, lowest income. Number four, military-based generated crimes and accidents are ongoing. Number five, polluting rivers, seawaters, drinking water, and so on. Six, deadly noise damage by the military planes. Seven, destruction of democracy, violation of the local people's human rights and their happiness. Eight, target of attack by the enemy nations. As a result, human rights, peace, and democracy of the indigenous Ryukyuans have been endangered. So, immediately would like to stop these side effects of U.S. military occupation. And in the long run, we'd like to see Okinawa, Ryukyu Islands, to become independent, to restore independence, to regain the power and the right to self-determination, which is completely taken away from us today. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and love for the lost, peace for the world.